Today, I'll be taking a look at Ducktales issue 10 by Dynamite. It's written by Brandon Montclair with art by Tommaso Ronda. And the main cover is done by Ivan Bigarella. This issue is going to be the holiday-themed Christmas issue. We start off at McDuck Manor. Huey, Dewey, and Louie are decorating a massive tree with a mountain of presents under it. They get tangled up with the Christmas lights and end up falling onto the mountain of presents. Then they hear a voice. At first, they're unsure if they're just hearing things or if it's actually someone talking to them. But then it becomes very clear when Scrooge McDuck pops out and yells, "Merry Christmas." And then Scrooge gives the boys a list of things to do. String the lights, hang the stockings, and help Mrs. Beakley brew the eggnog. In which they reply that Scrooge never asks for anything, so that it's not too much to ask for. And then Scrooge explains that the mountain of gifts are going to be given out to the people of Duckburg. And then Scrooge laments for a bit that he is far older than everyone else in town. We then cut to later on in the day when they decide that the socks that they were going to give Scrooge, like what they give him previous years, isn't good enough and that they need to do better and find something that he'll really enjoy. As they run down the streets of Duckburg, they end up running right into Launchpad McQuack, who's carrying a armful of gifts. And it turns out he's also trying to find a gift to buy for Scrooge. We then leave the boys behind and continue following Launchpad as he ends up encountering a street corner Santa who's ringing a bell and collecting change. And Launchpad and the street corner Santa end up having a back and forth where the street corner Santa is trying to convince Launchpad to donate, but Launchpad isn't picking up the clues and thinks that he's trying to give him ideas for what to buy Scrooge. Before eventually, Launchpad wants to give Scrooge the pot that the Santa is putting the money into, in which the street corner Santa rips it away from him. And before leaving, Launchpad reminds the street corner Santa that he wants a DX47 engine valve. Hopefully there's no hard feelings, since Launchpad thinks that that's actually Santa. We then cut to Gizmo Duck, who is rolling through the city trying to find the greatest ornament for the greatest man in Duckburg. He then comes across a large tree in the street with a massive star on top, and decides that will be the perfect gift to give to Scrooge. When Gizmo Duck attempts to remove the star, it ends up launching off the top of the tree and bouncing off of multiple structures, before then hitting a fire hydrant and being launched back onto the top of the tree. But the townsfolk who had saw this mistakenly thought that Gizmo Duck had saved them, when in actuality, Gizmo Duck is the one who caused the accident in the first place. We then get a rapid-fire montage of various characters are all around Duckburg trying to find the right gift to give to Scrooge. We see Webby and Mrs. Beakley at the store, with Webby wanting to give Scrooge a doll. We see that Gyro, Gearloose, and his assistant Lil Bulb are trying to teach robots to sing a song because the gift of music is the best gift of all. We then see Bubba Duck looking through a store window. We then cut to the Beagles planning on giving Scrooge a bomb. Duckworth at a bookstore having trouble finding the right book to give to Scrooge. We see Doofus Drake at a Junior Woodchuck's meeting, searching the guidebook, trying to find something to give to Scrooge. We then cut back to Huey, Dewey, and Louie still trying to figure out what to get Scrooge, before eventually they come up with an idea. They run back to McDuck Manor, they rush up to their room, and they smash open the piggy bank and grab some crayons and some paper. We cut to Scrooge working in his office, when all of a sudden, Huey, Dewey, and Louie bust in and yell, "Merry Christmas." Scrooge opens up the envelope to find a card that says, "For the best uncle ever," along with some money tied into a bow, where he gives his favorite bit of holiday advice: it's better to give than receive. Scrooge gives one last piece of advice. It's the thought that counts, as we see the arms of Launchpad, Fenton, Mrs. Beakley, and Duckworth handing Scrooge the presents that they had picked out for him. As the comic ends, and we get a nice little happy holidays message from Huey, Dewey, and Louie, as well as also the writing staff thanking a promise of more to come, as well as also thanking the readers. And we get a little tease for the next issue of. So in conclusion, I would say that I enjoyed this issue. It was a nice, quick read that was able to work in a good chunk of the supporting cast. The artwork continues to remain excellent. Some really cool panel layouts, as well as very vibrant and detailed art. I'm happy to see that they're finally starting to work in more of the character-specific phrases, like Scrooge referring to Huey, Dewey, and Louie as lads. The boys call him Unca Scrooge. There's a couple times they call him Uncle Scrooge, but I see that they're improving. Launchpad refers to Mr. McDuck as Mr. McD. Launchpad's interaction with the street corner Santa was probably the most authentic bit of dialogue I've seen in this entire Dynamite Ducktales run. It perfectly captures specifically the Ducktales version of Launchpad in only a couple pages. It was very, very well done. As for criticisms, the only really minor ones are some of the cameos, like for example, Doofus Drake's and Gyro's cameos probably could have been cut since they don't come back at the end. As well as also the story itself is a fairly typical Christmas story that's been told in many, many different kids' movies and TV shows. While they did try to put a DuckTales spin on it, it did feel very familiar pretty much through the entire thing. In conclusion, it was a fairly quick read, fairly entertained by from beginning to end, with some really nice art, improvements in the character writing. I recommend this issue. The story is fairly self-contained. While the story is a fairly standard kids' Christmas story, I still was entertained by it. Till next time, see ya.